about it. It's an interesting prospect.
It's a big one.
It's a definite big one.
So Call of Duty is gonna come into a board game form. You're a Call of Duty player, right, Mike?
I'm a big Call of Duty player. So to get into this, for me, it was a bit of a surprise that Activision is pulling in all the stops for this, and they're going to create a board game. From, if any of you understand, Call of Duty is a first-person shooter, very popular on PC and on console. Its main attraction, though, for players is the customization and the wide variety of weapons that are available to a player. So, from what I'm guessing, this is some sort of combat strategy board game. And I'm guessing there's going to be a lot of customization for weapons going in. And I believe that maybe, we don't have this, so take this as a grain of salt, we don't have this as confirmed, but I'm guessing from how the video game is made, with the weapon placements, the weapon stats, and the different grips you get, different grenades, and the different combinations that you can make, those make up your core gameplay loop. So basically you play, you get weapons, you unlock features, and then you progress through the game. So Fabian, I'm guessing that this is something that we will see in the board game, reflected pretty much as all Call of Duties have done in previous iterations of the video game.
So the release will be somewhere in 2024, so we still need to wait a long time. Do you have a shout out to the designers as a Call of Duty player, what you're expecting?
Guys, make sure that it's not skins, but that the customizations are with different cards, that we do have some board placement, and make sure that we do have some sort of interesting colors to it. So please, no Call of Duty World at War, grays and browns. Make it colorful, make it interesting.
Alright. Now, I hate shooter games on video games. I'm not a video game player myself. If it's not Pokemon or if it's not Fable, I don't care. But you are. How would you try to convince me to play this game?
First of all, the way I would go forward with convincing you to play this game is I would say, Fabian, the core part of the game is not the shooting, even though in the video game it is a skill-based shooter. The core part of the game is to continuously play it to unlock different weapons, different vehicles, and different features. Moving forward into the world of Call of Duty, there are technically two separate parts of the video game. And one of the core principles of this video game, and it was a staple of the franchise for over a decade, is unlocking weapons and customizing them for yourself, and of course map placement. So each and every character in a multiplayer map would have its map placement assigned to protect their own team or their own flag, depending on what kind of game mode you would have. The game has a variation of game modes, so many so that each and every different player might prefer one over the other, such as deathmatch, team deathmatch, capture the flag. I believe there was...
If you're saying capture the flag, I think of Stratego.
Maybe Stratego. Again, it is a combat strategy game, and if we're going that way, if they're going to do something like that, guys, I'm looking at you. You can't go wrong, but make certain changes to keep the core principles of the video game in your board game. So make it customizable. Maybe cards? I mean, again, we'll see.
The goal is mainly to get those Call of Duty players to introduce them in board games. And if I see this in the past, it was with Witcher. They didn't really succeed.
When we go to the Witcher board game, I played it. I have the digital version and I played the actual board game version, and it's not very strong. It's not very good.
No, board game players liked it. So people that never heard of Witcher as a video game or know that it exists, they liked it.
But it's on the latter side with those that did play the video games. They weren't too into it. So again, what Fabian just said, we could be looking at a good board game, but we'll see whether or not it draws in the Dorito eating, Gatorade drinking crowd. That's me. And you guys out there,
Wait, I'm gonna get my pesticide for those Dorito fingers.
Oh yeah. So also another thing for the Call of Duty board game, very important if you're gonna be playing and eating Doritos, please sleeve cards. Make sure that everything is nice and neat. Or don't eat Doritos while you play a board game.
Or game designers have a lesson from too many bones and chip theory games. They created plastic cards. You can just clean them with a cloth.
So yeah, and as far as the board game was concerned, it took me a bit by surprise for a first-person shooter to be turned into a board game. But maybe they're going something on the lines of XCOM.
Maybe it's no. XCOM had his own board game.
But I'm talking about the gameplay loop.
But maybe they're going because Call of Duty over the years got like a huge multiplayer variant.
Yeah.
So maybe they're
with a battle
taking
royale.
more the multiplayer that you have maybe co-op stories that you needed to complete a mission against the board, or maybe there are indeed like a battle royale aspect. So then I really need to think straight away of Adrenaline. It's a Czech game board game, and they did something, and I think even when it was announced at Spiel, they announced it like, yeah, it's a little bit like Call of Duty the board game. So maybe they're already late.
Oh, okay. I see where you're going with this. But we're purely speculating here. But after what you just said, that does make a lot of sense why they would now try to do their own IP.
Yeah. That said, yeah. But as a player, what mechanics do you expect? Because you're a video gamer and a board game, what mechanics do you expect to see in this board game? Or do you want to see in this board game?
What I want to see, let's start with that. What I want to see is to take the variant from their Battle Royale, where you would start on a wide map with your other opponents. On a wide map, you will have certain locations which are called key locations, where loot drops will happen. These random loot drops, each and every part of the game should have a random set of loot drops on the map. You would rush to get to these loot drops, as each and every round would make the circle grow smaller and smaller. You need to upgrade your weapons to be stronger than the opponents. First person to get the best loot drops with the best weapons can hold the point, and then they can be king of the hill or the last survivor. That's something that I would want to see as a principle of this game.
So you want to see a board game becoming, the game board becoming smaller and smaller every round,
yes,
or every couple of rounds.
Every couple of rounds, giving you this insane rush to try and get the best gear while also avoiding other players. So not just going into combat, but try and avoid them. But if you have to go into combat, that there is this sort of risk that if you come across an opponent who has better gear than you could lose early on.
And don't skip on miniatures.
Oh, please. Oh, you've got so many good characters in your games. Call of Duty has some iconic ones. Please, Ghost has to be in it.
So I'm a passionate fan of it.
I'm a passionate fan of Call of Duty, yes.
If we, yeah, Activision, if you're looking for a consultant, there's not much details yet known about the board game, but we found it a very big topic to discuss because it has potential to please a lot of board gamers that are existing already, that are already overlapping with the video game industry, but it could potentially put some new blood in the board game world.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're looking forward to it.
I'm definitely looking forward to it. Now, what I imagined, as I said, a game world, a board, which is getting smaller and smaller. Maybe even you will have time, like a little capsule or a little timer. And as time passes, the board will be forced to a smaller location. You collect loot, probably cards.
I think it will not be time-based.
No, just round-based?
Round-based, because what you see with time-based board games, there are people that are overthinkers. Yes, you know who you are.
Yeah.
And if it's time limited, no, that would not work.
They would lose interest.
No, they would not lose interest. people would kill them. They would take the next time a real gun and like
I'm
boom.
sorry. Okay. So this is actually what really happens if you're an overthinker in the battle royale. You get online, you queue up, you jump out of the airplane, you land. You're overthinking it with your team. You're collecting too many guns. In the ending, you get a bounty on you. You're trying to run away. You're overthinking it. You die. So yeah, in the real battle royale, that if you're thinking too much, there's not enough time to think too much. You must.
Yeah, okay, but there
is a strategy to it.
It's a strategy game. It's gonna be a strategy game. There is no other option. So we cannot do anything else about it. So you need to give people time to think.
Done. Rounds getting smaller.
So what I think would be good maybe is a mechanic like with Mage Knight. So you have a round, and Mage Knight's a day. Now a round, you have your deck, and your deck has a specific amount of cards. You draw 5 cards because that's your hand limit. You have moves in there, you have attacks in there, you have maybe heights in there, or whatever mechanic you want to use. And if you move on to a drop point, you can choose some specific cards like in the...
Yeah, you open up your drop box and you can select your loadouts, what cards are available, and how much money you have will dictate what you can actually take.
And also what you can leave, or the what, like for example, if it's like a closed stack of cards, if someone comes on it, they can check it out. They can also play a little bit of bluff poker with that. So like, oh, there are super good cards, but I didn't have the money for it, and actually they're very bad cards.
Yeah. Okay. That plays into the Call of Duty mechanic. When you think about it, you are going to open it. Do you want armor? Do you want armor now? Or are you going to wait because you just found a good gun? Do you want to go for the good gun and hope that the next drop point or the next NPCs you run into, that you can kill them and loot them so that you can go on to the next location? But maybe they got heavy armor.
So me, you can also call as a consultant. No. So let's go to the next.
Let's get to the next.